Luxray is a pretty cool Pokemon, and I enjoy the Pokemon. I think its design is awesome, and I think its stats are pretty good. Except for one thing that's always bothered me. Its speed. You know, it's an electric type, so it'd make you wonder, why is it slow? Electric type Pokemon are almost never slow. See, now that I'm thinking about it, there's Ampharos, there's Vikavolt, and there's whatever that frog thing from Paldea is, right? But for the most part, electric type Pokemon are really fast Pokemon. So for today's video, I decided I'm gonna fix Luxray, or maybe not fix him, but make him a bit better, and see if he can take on the Sinnoh region in Pokemon Platinum all by himself. Now before we jump into the gameplay, we do need to talk about what changes I've made to the Shinx line. For the most part, it was some stat buffs to the attack stat of Shinx and Luxio, but Luxray's attack stat is already pretty good, so I didn't touch that. I did, however, make him a lot faster, but to not make him too broken, I did that at the cost of his defensive capabilities, which throughout my runs, you'll see it kick in a lot. And to top things off, I gave him the dark typing because everyone thought he was going to be a dark type because of his design, and his name doesn't actually give any indications of why he can't be a dark type, because the dark typing doesn't always refer to literal darkness or lack of light, right? And the last thing I gave him was coverage, like the elemental fangs, double kick, shadow claw, shadow ball. And with that being said, let's jump into the video. We start off by receiving our starter Pokemon Shinx from Professor Rowan's briefcase after trying to run through the grass without Pokemon of our own. After receiving these Pokemon, I get into a rival fight with my rival Barry. And the fight is basically a game of, can my tackles outdo his withdraws? As we're not doing a lot of damage, as Turtwig has pretty good defense for a first stage Pokemon and it's spamming withdraw, but as a result of it spamming withdraw, it's not doing much damage to us, and luckily because of this, we do win this battle. After our victory against Barry, we check Shinx's stats and natures to see that he's actually of the adamant nature, which to be honest is very helpful, which boosts his tremendous 120 attack stat as a Luxray, but comes at the cost of special attacks, which does take away our ability to run special shit, like using Dark Pulse and any actual competent electric type move, because Luxray doesn't get many good physical attacking electric type moves in Generation 4. But after we check stats, we do a bunch of our errands, we talk to our mom, we go see the professor, we get our catching tutorial, and we meet Looker at Jubilife City. After talking to Looker for the first time and receiving our Pokétch by doing all the Pokétch questions, we head to the trainer school where we meet Barry to hand him his parcel before heading to the next route where we actually have another rival battle with Barry. Barry leads with Starly. I go for Thundershock, and because of our adamant nature, we miss out on the one shot. I go for a second one, takes out Starly, and then he sends out his Turtwig. I go for a return, doesn't do that much. Turtwig goes for a withdraw, so I start spamming Leers to try to combat his withdraws. But unfortunately, you know, Turtwig's just gonna keep on using withdraw. So eventually when he starts attacking, I go back to attacking. I go for a Thundershock for some reason, I don't even know why I did that. And then I start using double kicks, because it seems to be doing a bit more than return. I guess my friendship wasn't high enough for return to be really hard hitting, and after a few double kicks we do win. Now skipping ahead, after we defeat Barry, we head straight to the Orkberg gym, and unfortunately I didn't want to go over the level cap just yet because I knew later in the run I would be well above it, and I had tried utilizing Shinx's guts ability to get poisoned before the gym just for an extra boost, because I was really worried about the strength of the rock types, since rock types are really good with physical bulk. But in my attempts to do that, I had accidentally leveled up and Shinx evolved into Luxio, so I decided to jump straight into the gym. Roark leads with Geodude, and this is where I learned Luxio actually hits pretty hard. One double kick does just about over half, meaning I could two-shot, but he heals, which means I had to go for another 2 double kicks. And with that, Geodude is down, and he sends out his Onix, who I was worried about because Onix is bulky, right? Seems to do about half health, and another high roll would take him out, which luckily we get. He then sends out Craniados, who I was most nervous about because of his high attack stat, so I go for a Spark to get a paralysis, but I learned that Craniados has like no defense, so another 2 Sparks takes him out, and we get a win against Roark. With Roark defeated, we head back to Jubilife City. Here we meet Dawn and Professor Warren, who are being harassed by two Team Galactic grunts. We help Dawn out in a double battle against the grunts, and after defeating them, we make our way to Eterna City, where we take on the gym leader, Gardenia. Gardenia learns with a Turtwig, and I go for an Ice Fang, and due to a low world, Turtwig lives and sets up a Reflect, lowering our attack, which is really bad. After healing, we go for a Bite, and then an Ice Fang to take out Turtwig. Lucky crit, saving us. She then sends out her Cherrim, and we go for another Ice Fang, and due to the Reflect, she lives. She uses a Grass Knot, which does a decent amount. We go for a Spark, get the Paralysis, we dodge Leech Siege, the Reflect wears off, we go for a Bite for some reason, doesn't kill. Uses a Super Potion, we go for a Rock Smash before finishing her off with an Ice Fang. This is when she sends out her Roserade, who outspeeds us, goes for a Grass Knot, and takes us out. Now, I have to go back and think, what could I do better here? How can I improve my strategy? Because if I just go back in, I'm going to lose and rack up my losses. So after our loss, I do a bit of farming, and I give Luxio an Orange Berry as a form of health recovery. My strategy was to get poisoned and make use of Guts, but I just wasn't getting lucky. So after hitting level 25, I decided to try my luck at Gardenia, hoping the minor stat changes would be enough. Unfortunately, I'm not much luckier than I was the last time, and it does end in a second defeat. Now this time, I come to the conclusion that the only way for me to win is to 1. Take out Turtwig in one hit so he can't set up Reflect, and take out Cherrim in one hit so I have more HP to deal with Roserade. And the only way to do that without completely over leveling or trying to evolve Luxio would be to go get Guts activated. And that's exactly what I do. I head back to the nearest route that has access to Badoo, who has the ability Poison Point. Only problem with this is that not all Badoos have Poison Point. Badoo in Generation 4 has 2 abilities, Poison Point and I believe Natural Cure. But eventually, I am able to find a Badoo with Poison Point, and now that my Luxio is poisoned, his attack is raised and it's time to go take my revenge. Fully healed and pre-poisoned, it's time for our 3rd attempt in order to prove that my buff Luxray can take on this game on its own. Leaves with Turtwig, goes down to 1 Ice Fang, which sends out Cherrim, also goes down to 1 Ice Fang thanks to the Guts boost. We hit level 26 and Roserade comes out. Roserade is still faster and goes for Magical Leaf, does a lot. We live and heal and go for an Ice Fang who takes out Roserade. We had finally done it. We had taken down Gardenia, improving that Luxio can handle this on his own. Afterwards, we head on to the Galactic building in Eterna City to take on Commander Jupiter, who goes down pretty easily. 1 spark for Zubat, 3 sparks for Skuntank, who heals with its Citrus Berry, but outside of that doesn't do anything to us. And after freeing the old man who was trapped in the building, we do receive our bike that allows us to go down the cycling path. This brings us to Hearthorn City, where we fight the gym leader Fantina, who leaves with a Duskull, and obviously Duskull goes down to 1 bite. She then sends out her ace Miss Magius, who outspeeds and goes for a Confuse Ray, but Cleo hits itself in Confusion and then fights through Confusion to land another bite, taking out Miss Magius, where we hit level 30, and tries to learn Nasty Plot, but obviously since it's adamant, I can't capitalize on that, so I get rid of it. And next comes out Haunter, uses a Shadow Claw. We hurt ourselves in Confusion again, but we snap out of it. It's a speed type, we bite, we win. And as a reward, Cleo evolves into her final form, Luxray. And at first, I was thinking to myself, the game might get really easy from here. But boy, was I wrong. On our way out, our rival Byron wants to test out our skills. He sends out Staravia, and obviously Cleo takes it out with 1 spark, and then brings out Breezel, same story, 1 spark, and then sends out Grottle, and obviously Grottle's not a ground type yet, so Ice Fang doesn't do a lot, especially after Staravia's Intimidate, lowering our attack. He brings him down to 1 HP, I go to a bite to seal out the win, we level up, and he sends out Ponyta, and this fight was actually pretty close given that it's a 1v4, and we almost had that Ember Burn does. I think the burn damage would have taken us out, but we did win, luckily. Following after this win against Barry, we decide to take on the fighting type gym leader of Veilstone City, Maylene, but this is where we really feel Luxray's dark type. I go for a Shadow Claw against Meta-type, take it out, and I go for a Spark against Machoke because I don't have many options. He goes for a Rock Tomb. which lowers our speed, and now because of that we're slower than Lucario, who goes for a Force Palm and does a lot of damage. We go for a Spark, hoping for a Paralysis, doesn't get it, and because of that she takes us out with a Drain Punch. Now obviously due to our dark typing, it's hard to do well against a fighting type gym, whereas we did amazingly in a ghost type gym. Now for my strategy is the same as it was for Gardenia, one shot everything with a paralysis, burn, or poison status. So I do the same thing. I go backtrack, find somewhere with a Roselia or a Budu to give us poison, and we've come back for a rematch. Back at Maylene's gym, I'm a lot more confident. Meditite, like always, goes down in one Shadow Claw, and then she brings out Hermit Choke, who goes down in one Spark. This is looking good because my speed is no longer lower, and when Lucario comes down, I go for another Spark, and that just takes him right out, granting us the victory. After healing up at the Pokemon Center, we go to help Dawn fight Team Galactic Grunt, who had stolen her Pokédex. I had healed because I felt that I no longer needed the attack boost, and it's not worth the chip and the constant having to reheal, especially since Luxray is poisoned and not burned. Up next is the match against Crasher Wake. He leads off with a Gyarados, and obviously Gyarados versus Luxray, what do you think is going to happen? One Spark, he is out of there, right? Next he sends out Quagsire, and here I'm nervous. That's a ground type, right? I don't have anything to combat a ground type, so I start going for Crunches. He's going for Rock Tombs for some reason. He misses his Rock Tomb, uses a Hyper Potion, which actually is kind of bad. Goes for another Rock Tomb, and I take him out with a Crunch. But now I'm worried. Floatzel's faster than me because of my 2 speed drops. I go for a Spark. Floatzel lives. Low roll of doom, you know. Goes for another Brine. Does absolutely nothing though, and we take out Floatzel for an easy win. After our victory at the Pastoria gym, we hear an explosion at the Great Marsh. Finding this out to be a Team Plasma Grunt, we follow him until we get to Lake Valor, the lakefront, and we battle him. Which upon defeating him, he runs away, and we're approached by Cynthia, who gives us some secret medicine to give to a Herdicidal. Getting to Celestic Town, we give Cynthia's grandmother the old charm that she had entrusted to us. Upon gifting this to Cynthia's grandmother, we then enter the Relic, where we meet Cyrus, the boss of Team Galactic once again. This time we battle him. Cyrus leads off with his Sneasel, who goes down in one Rock Smash, and then sends out his Golbat, which obviously goes down in one Spark. After Golbat being sent out, he sends out his final Pokemon Murkrow, who again goes out in one Spark. Cyrus isn't much of a challenge for Luxray at all. Given his crushing defeat at the hands of just a child, he makes his retreat before the woman gives us the HM for Surf, which we need to get to our next town and next gym at Canalave City, also the place where I can finally get rid of Rock Smash on Luxray. But before we even get the chance to take on the Canalave City gym, we are challenged again by our rival Berry, who once again leads with his Staraptor, whose Intimidate lowers our attack. Of course, that doesn't stop us from taking it out in one Spark, and in return, Berry sends out his new Heracross. This is a threat, a bug and fighting type, who tanks a Spark, goes for a Brick that does tremendous damage to us. Sends out Rapidash. We use Crunch on Rapidash, doesn't take it out. It uses Takedown, we use Rock Smash, it goes out. Berry then sends out Floatzel, who is another Spark victim, followed by his fully evolved Torterra, who is now fully an Ice Fang victim. And just like that, we are once again single-handedly taking out Berry with Luxray. Now up against Gym Leader Byron, he leaves with Magneton. We use Dig, a newly acquired move, goes down in one hit, and he sends out Steelix. I go for Dig, but Steelix Earthquakes, Luxray is down. That's attempt one out the way. After visiting the move reminder, we teach Luxray Fire Fang in hopes that it helps us win. We go against Dig into Magneton again, hits, and it's a one-shot. Now we're up against Steelix, who I'm still worried about. I go for a Fire Fang, and it deals about half, and Steelix does over half. So I go for another Fire Fang, and unfortunately it doesn't even take out Steelix. That's another wipe. Thinking the last match was just bad luck, we try the same moveset again. Obviously Dig once again digs out Magneton in one hit, and then he sends out his Steelix. So we go for a Fire Fang, does even less damage, but this time Steelix goes for Sandstorm as opposed to Earthquake, and he flinches on the second Fire Fang, but he uses a full restore, and we're back at it. But we get a high roll on the Fire Fang and a low roll. Steelix goes for Earthquake, we live. We go for one more Fire Fang, taking out Steelix, but we're still taking chip. Out comes Bastiodon, and my thought was a single Dig would take it out, but he uses Iron Defense, thus living. He uses a second Iron Defense. I go for Dig again. He uses Stone Edge, which misses, and then he goes for a Metal Burst, taking me out. Obviously, at this point, I'm realizing that I need Double Kick back. Bastiodon would go down to a Dig, if he doesn't get a chance to use Iron Defense. I don't have the item that makes 2-turn moves happen in 1 turn, so obviously I had to go back to the move reminder and pick up Double Kick. Also pick up the TM for Double Team, as I believe evasion hacks would be very good for the run. And with that, I think I'm ready for my final rematch with Brian. Once again, he sends out his Magneton and Luxray goes for a Double Team, but I get hit with a tri-attack and somehow that freezes me. And I'm being so serious, I would have won if it wasn't for the freeze. Like, it's actually insane, the 10% freeze. And I didn't even know, maybe it's because I didn't use a fire type move, but you can't break out a freeze in this game. It might have been my fault, that's a lack of ball knowledge on my part, but I just genuinely thought that I'd eventually thaw out like you would in later games. So after that embarrassing loss, we take Byron on for one last time, and this time we go for another Double Team, but the tri-attack actually misses. We go for a second one, Metal Sound misses, we go for a third one, tri-attack misses again. I go for a Double Kick, which Magneton barely lives due to a low roll. We go for a Double Team on the heel turn, we go for a Double Kick, Magneton lives again, he lands a Metal Sound, and we go for one last Double Team, and one last Double Team, and we take out Magneton with a kick. Now we have full evasion, so things are looking good. We go for a Fire Fang against Steelix, use a Sandstorm for another Fire Fang. A critical hit takes out Steelix. Now all we have to deal with is Bastiodon. Bastiodon comes out, we go for a Double Kick. Bastiodon actually lives, but his Citrus failure takes him out of healing range, which is good for us. We go for one more and Bastiodon is down. After a stupid amount of attempts with a pretty good moveset, just bad luck, we had finally taken out Byron. After our victory at the Candlelight City Gym, we head to the library where we meet Professor Rowan, Don, and Barry, and then immediately after, we see an explosion at Lake Valor. So Professor Rowan sends us to check out Lake Valor. When we get there, we see that the entire lake is completely empty with Magikarps flopping everywhere. We fight through hordes of Team Galactic guns before we get to the Commander Saturn, who sends out his Golbat, and obviously Cleo just goes for a Fire Fang. We haven't gotten Spark yet, and that takes it out. And then sends out Toxicroak, and to counter that we go for a dig, dodging the poison jab and coming back up to knock it out in one hit. And his final Pokemon is a Bronzor, who we knock out with one Fire Fang, taking out Commander Saturn. After they flee to Lake Verity, where we continue fighting hordes of Team Galactic grunts. This is where we're challenged by Commander Mars, who sends out her Golbat, and for some reason I didn't heal Cleo. She still doesn't know any of her actual good moves, so we set up a Double Team, but Air Cutter hits, and I go for a Fire Fang and I miss. I go for another Fire Fang, only does half her health. We go for one last Fire Fang, taking out Golbat, and then she sends out Bronzor. We're out of Fire Fang, so we're stuck to use Double Kick because I believe this Bronzor is Levitate, meaning we can't hit it with Dig for super effective damage. Bronzor goes on to some double takes, and the last is Perugly, who unfortunately due to the Citrus Berry proccing mid-turn heals and takes us. So obviously this is a loss, so we have to go back heal. Literally, if we just heal, we win. But I think I also, on top of that, decide to get majority, if not all, of Luxray's actual moveset back. I don't think I take back Ice Fang because I know Fire Fang can be used for the next gym as well as the last gym we just taken out. And after that, we head back to fight Commander Mars again. And obviously, since we have our prime moveset and we're fully healed, she's of no real threat to us. We then proceed to Lake Acuity, where we're redirected to Snow Point City, where we take on the 7th gym leader, Candace, who we are well over prepared for, given that one of the route trainers had burned my Luxray on the way here. Candace leads with her Sneasel, and I take it out with a Spark because I don't want to risk Fire Fang missing and taking unnecessary damage. And then sends out Piloswine, who I have to take out with a Fire Fang. And then after that comes out Abomasnow, who obviously I use another Fire Fang. And I guess you see the pattern, it's Fire Fang after Fire Fang, but what am I going to do with an overleveled Pokemon in Ice type gym? But I see Frostlass and I actually go for Crunch because knowing Snowcloak, I would have missed that Fire Fang. Moving on from the 7th gym to the Evil Team subplot, we take out Cyrus in the Team Galactic hideout before we go on to take out Commander Saturn as well to free Mesprit, Azelf, and Yixi. From which point we head to Mount Coronet, where a poison we had developed on the way actually does more harm to our Luxray than good, as Cleo goes down to chip damage and not having enough power points. After I lost to the 2 other Galactic commanders whose names I've genuinely forgotten at the time and I'm too lazy to check, we decide that it's better off to once again just go without the poison and to restore our power points, so we're ready for this fight. This time, after successfully beating Commanders Mars and Jupiter with the help of Barry, we chase Cyrus all the way into the Distortion Road. And luckily for you guys, you don't have to sit through that long ass Distortion Road like I have to, so we're just gonna cut straight to the fight. Galactic boss Cyrus starts with his Houndoom, who we use Spark against. Spark doesn't take it out, but it does paralyze it, and we get burned by Will-O-Wisp, which actually works in our favor. He goes for a Power Sword, but thanks to our Gust Boots, Hounding goes down in the second Spark. He then sends out Gyarados, who intimidates us, but it doesn't matter much because we have our Guts Boost up, and we take him down with another Spark. Weavile then comes out, and we use a Fire Fang, but we get hit with a Fake Out. We go for a second Fire Fang, and that does take Weavile out. He then sends out Crobat, and our HP starting to get low, but luckily we go for another Spark, and that does take it out. Finally comes out Honchkrow, and we go for one last Spark to secure the victory against Galactic boss Cyrus, thus freeing the entire Pokemon world from his plans of destruction and saving the Distortion realm as well. As a reward, we get to battle and capture Giratina, but obviously I have the best Pokemon in the world already, Luxray, so we just take it out with one crunch. Now that we've successfully saved the world as a child, which for some odd reason in the Pokemon world happens quite often, I don't know why the adults aren't pulling their weight, we have one last thing to do. Complete our gym challenge and take on the Pokemon League, starting with the 8th gym in Sunnyshore's City. Gym leader Volcaner sets out his Jolteon, and I send out a paralyzed Luxray that isn't even fully HP. I don't even know if I'm trying at this point. I was taking advantage of the Guts Boost, but obviously I'm paralyzed, so I'm slower. And Raichu uses a Focus Blast, which almost takes us out, but somehow, despite our lowered special defenses, we seem to manage to live it, most likely due to how high level we are. He then sends out Electivire, and I go for a crunch this time, like a smart person, but obviously he goes for Quick Attack, taking me out. So we have lost this gym battle and have to come back with like a Luxray that's actually capable of fighting. Starting off our rematch, we go for a crunch and we outspeed Jolteon, and obviously we take it out with one hit. Jolteon's not defensive. We outspeed Raichu, take it out one hit with a crunch. You notice a pattern. We outspeed Electivire. It lives on like 1 HP, but it heals out of healing range, so we go for another crunch to take it out. And finally, his last Pokemon is his own Luxray. We go for a Fire Fang, and that does half itself. It goes for an Ice Fang. I guess they also have the coverage moves, and we go for one last Fire Fang, picking out Luxray. And just like that, we have defeated our final gym battle, the last hurdle that stands in our way before we take on the daunting Elite Four. On our way out to Victory Road in the Pokemon League, we meet Jasmine, a gym leader from the Johto region, who gives us the HM for Waterfall, which we need on our journey to get to the Pokemon League. At last, we make it to the pinnacle of the Sinnoh region, the Sinnoh League, the Pokemon League. But we have one last hurdle before we can actually take it on. Barry, who sends out his Staraptor, who goes down to 1 Spark, and then his Heracross, a big threat. We go for a Fire Fang, which we still have, and he hits us with a close combat. We go for another Fire Fang, and then we go for an Ice Fang against Torterra. Floatzel comes out, and that's an easy Spark for a free KO. And then he sends out Snorlax, another big threat. We go for a crunch, but we get a lucky critical hit to take out Snorlax. Finally is Rapidash. We go for a crunch, and Rapidash lives. It misses our crunch because of a bounce, and we go for a second crunch, taking out Barry. Now nothing gets in between us and challenging the Pokemon League. Me and my lone Luxray, to see if her might truly is good enough to conquer the region on her own. First hurdle, Aaron leads with Yanmega, who goes down to 1 Spark. And then he sends out his Heracross, which I don't know if you're noticing a pattern, but Heracross just ruins everything. A low roll leaves us on 15 HP after receiving a close combat. And when we go for a Fire Fang on his healing turn, we take it out with a higher roll. We would think from here is smooth sailing, but Scissor hits us with a Quick Attack, causing us to wipe out. In our rematch, Yanmega goes down the same way, 1 Spark. And we're up against Heracross once again. We go for a Fire Fang, and this time we get a high roll, taking it out. Scissor is out next. Now it no longer uses Quick Attack, thus seeing a kill, and we kill it with a Fire Fang. After that is Vespiquen, but you know how it is, Flying type, 1 Spark is all it takes. And then we have Drapion. He's not even a Bug type, but Skorupi is a Bug type, and he's Bug-like. We go for a Spark, it paralyzes but doesn't kill, and he heals, and then we go to a Spark, hitting him into healing range. He heals, we go for another Spark, we get a high roll, go for one last Spike, get another high roll, taking him out. Right there I knew was going to be a problem given the type disadvantage we are, as well as ground type's general physical bulk. We go for a crunch on Whiscash, we get a lucky crit there, and he sends out Hippowdon. Her Hippowdon Sandstream is annoying, but we go for an Ice Fang and we get a lucky flinch. We're thinking maybe I can do this in one try. Then it sends out Golem, and it just lives. It hits me with an Earthquake, and that's all my health gone. What am I supposed to do, right? She heals, and I can get a kill on Golem now because she wasted a turn healing. But I have 8 HP against the incoming Rhyperior, and he's just also going to go for an Earthquake, and it just takes me out. And here's the thing, this isn't even a bad luck, it's just an unwinnable matchup because I keep challenging the Elite Four getting EXP, thinking I could brute force my way, and it just happens again and again and again. Eventually, I come to the conclusion that I need guts to beat the Elite Four. So I go all the way to the Iron Valley Works to farm against Magmars until one of them burns me, and then I come back for vengeance. After one more loss to Aaron and Bertha each, we're back with more experience and 2 rare candies I saved up. We go for Crunch against Wishcash, who thanks to the guts boost finally goes out on 1 hit regardless of the roll. Next we're up against Hippowdon, and Hippowdon just takes a mean Ice Fang, and it goes down on 1 hit. Next is Golem, who I was scared was still gonna live, and we go for an Ice Fang, and it also goes down on 1 hit. Next is Rhyperior, who we use Ice Fang, and guess what? It also goes down in 1 hit. I believe that had to be a high roll to kill, and finally it's Gliscor, and that's free food for us. It goes down in 1 hit. We had finally overcome Bertha, our biggest wall in this Elite Four run. Probably a bigger challenge for us than Cynthia. Next up is Flint, and honestly he couldn't even hold a candle to us. Get it? But first is Houndoom, and he goes down to a single spark. After that is Infernape, and I use a spark hoping it will kill, which we're lucky it does because otherwise we would have taken a mean close combat. Next is Flareon, and we can upgrade the Crunch for the kill. And then after that is Rapidash, and another Crunch takes it out. Finally is Magmortar, and I was really hoping Crunch would take it out because I didn't want to risk getting killed since our HP was so low, and it did. After this is the final wall that stands before us before the champion, Lucian, but he shouldn't be much of a challenge. We go for a Crunch, taking him out. And after Mr. Mime comes in Gallade, who I was worried about because it's a fighting type, but luckily since our stats are so high, we take it out with another Crunch. Next up is Bronzong, who I didn't know if it was heat proof or not, so I had to stop and think about it for a little bit, but after a bit of thinking, I go for the Fire Fang, taking it out. In its place, he sends out Alakazam, which is a Crunch victim, and finally sends out his last Pokemon Espeon, but that's another Crunch victim. And after all our trials and tribulations, we have finally done it. We're at the pinnacle. There's only one wall that stands before. But obviously we aren't talking about no simple wall. This is Cynthia of all people. She is to be feared. She is one of the strongest, if not the strongest trainer. She leads with her Spirit Tomb, and we go for Crunch, hoping for max damage on it. Luckily we get the kill, but it might have been a high roll. We go for Garchomp, we go for an Ice Fang, and Ice Fang hits, taking Garchomp clean out. That wasn't her strongest Pokemon. Next is Lucario, but he's a Fire Fang victim. After that is Togekiss, but guess what? He's a Spark victim. Spark in Elite Four is crazy. Milotic, another Spark victim. And then Roserade, PTSD, but it doesn't matter because one Ice Fang is all we need to become the champions of the Sinnoh region. We had done it. Just me, myself, and my Luxray Cleo. The greatest Luxray to ever do it. We enter our Luxray in the Hall of Fame, and that's where the journey ends. So Luxray, pretty great Pokemon. With its buff stats, I think it does amazingly. Clearly this run showed us that it's not meant to be a Pokemon that handles everything on its own, but put it on a solid team, you know, the same team that everyone who played Platinum used, and he will work wonders. Or she, like my feminist queen Cleo did. Let me know what you guys think about this video. This is my first time trying to record a full playthrough. I'm actually shocked I managed to edit it down to only 30 minutes because I had 4 hours of footage I was working with. If you guys like what you see, leave a like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. It lets me know you guys want more of this. Leave any suggestions or complaints in the comments and have yourself a great one. Poke Trainer Ice signing off.